Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Fourth for Girl Show. I am your host, Ricardo.
I'm Michelle.
And I am Courtney, and we have a special guest today I'm going to let Ricardo tell you about.
Yes, Brian has been a friend of mine for a couple of years now. He is a husband, a father, business owner, philanthropist, and he is one of the founders of the Chicago Basket Brigade, which I am really excited to talk to him about because they delivered around 2,000 baskets last year.
Wow.
Yeah. So they've really
Awesome.
expanded this thing. So here we go. Welcome, Brian.
Hello, sir.
How are you, buddy?
Hello. I'm good. How are you guys all doing?
Good. So
Great.
first, let's chat about business. Tell us a little bit about what you do on the business side.
Sure. 23 years now. We opened as an Insti Prints, which is an old school printing company that everybody knows the name of. Back about 10, 12 years ago, we rebranded as Allegra, and it's Allegra Marketing Print and Mail because Insti Prints just didn't really kind of sum up what we did. It was very old school. So really, our biggest area that we focus on is helping businesses get more customers with marketing that combines the old school printing with Google and Facebook and all of the modern stuff that is not even like bleeding edge. I mean, it's where people are now.
Nice. And then, how have you? So first, before I really want to get to the basket stuff because I love that. That's like one of the most impressive things. But there's so many more impressive things about you. So let's get all this other stuff out of the way. So how has business been, and how have you been helping other businesses lately?
Well, clearly the last 6 months have changed everything. So much like everybody, there was the big worry when the pandemic hit, and everything was shut down. So we literally on one Thursday, by that Friday, we had dropped $30,000 off the books because of conventions that canceled and things like that. We had some stuff that was midstream printing, so I mean, it was pretty devastating right away. I tried to keep as much of my staff on as I could and all that. We did work remotely. Printing and mailing were both deemed essential businesses. So we were open during the shutdown, which meant that we were able to help people to do the things that were necessary now as we steer towards reopening, for instance. There's all the floor graphics and the acrylics and all that other stuff that people need in order just to be able to reopen. Marketing in the traditional sense is still a ways away because you don't know if I'm preparing a campaign today and all of a sudden things are shut down in a week. There's just, it's very hard for people to justify doing that right now. So right now where our focus is on all of the kind of reopening stuff that people need in order to function and get open to the public.
Nice.
Yes. What kind of innovation, what has surprised you over the last few months, or ways that your company's innovated or you've seen others innovate? It sounds like you've been doing that for the last 6 months full time, but how has that played a role in the last few months in the business?
I would say the biggest innovation that I've seen just globally is the realization is how well remote working can work, because so many people are connecting to the office remotely. Next week, I've got a cabin in Michigan. We're going there for the week because it's just as effective as me working from my home 20 minutes from here or in the office. It's just as easy to be there as it is here, and I really think that as we get through the pandemic and things start returning to closer to normal than they've been, I think that there's going to be a lot of people who just continue that trend. There's going to be a lot of people who realize, hey, I don't really need this office. So I think one of the things that we will see is a lot of vacant commercial space coming up, because I just think a lot of people are just they've worked, 6 months now. It's going to be a year and a half. They're going to be like, well, why have that overhead?
Yeah.
So Brian, you said something that kind of took me back a little, because I know so many businesses are experiencing this right now. And I've experienced it in my life too with business. That shocking, all of a sudden, instantly, you lost $30,000 in, a decrease. So it's you being a Tony Robbins follower. You've learned tools to adapt to like what Tony talks about as being resourceful, but also very much focused on mindset. So how, like that to me would cause panic, like an instant reaction of panic in your brain. And so what tools did you use? How did you recover from that and not let it just take you down and put you in that fight or flight mode, to where how did you recover from that to where you could stay creative in your mindset and deal with the challenges that you all of a sudden faced out of nowhere?
Good question.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. One of the things, I mean, for me, my mantra has always been family first. So it was always, we have to get through this new e-learning thing, which our school was a debacle, just like most people's, I'm sure. I've got one daughter who needed extra attention in math, and that fell on me. So now I'm trying to, and it was about 45 minutes to an hour and a half a day. It wasn't just like a quick 10-minute thing. So now I am trying to run the business from home. I'm trying to make sure we're applying for all the government loans, seeing what paperwork we need, following up on all that, figuring out which staff I was having in, figuring out how to keep them safe, because at that point, everybody thought anything you touched was infectious and you had to sanitize your Amazon packages and all that. So trying to make sure that my guys working here were safe. So it was challenging for sure. Additionally, I'm still healing from an accident. I broke my leg and shoulder back in September. So I'm still dealing with some of that. So not being able to go to a chiropractor during that, for instance, my back and neck was all crippled up and all that. It was awful. So one of the things that I found that really, really helped was removing yourself from a situation. So during the day, we have a little 3-season room out back. And even though it was March and April, so it was still chilly. I know, Ricardo, you don't have chili down by you, but up in Illinois, we have chili. So it's not heated. So I had a little space heater. I put that out there so I could, sit out there or whatever. But physically just going out there, closing that door indicated to my mind that, okay, this is work. I'm not at home with the dogs barking. I'm not, dealing with the kids with the homework and all that. My wife was inside dealing with all of that except for my daughter's math. So just having that physical barrier, and it was a mental cue to myself that now you're in work mode. When you're out here, this is what you're doing, even though it was literally just on the other side of a glass door.
That's awesome. And I have a question. You kind of already answered some of it, but you are a family man. You do put family first. So what does your family as a unit learn through this? Or what kind of revelations have you guys had that brought clarity to what's really important lately?
So I've got twin 12-year-old daughters who, just like all kids at that age, are 12 going on 30. It's totally fits 180 degrees polar in their personalities and all that, how they work and how you have to discipline them, how you have to work with them on school and all that kind of stuff. They were also in 2 different classes, so it was challenging because 2 different teaching styles and all that. So a lot of it was challenging, but one of the things that we did right off the bat was we said, hey, we don't want to lose that family connection. So no matter what's happening, every day we're going to spend at least an hour together. So, at the end of the day, we had what we called family time, which was sometimes torturous because it was like, okay, what do we do today? But what we wound up doing was we did a rotation where every day each person got to pick what that family activity was. So some days we'd be out riding a bike. Other days, the girls were showing mom and dad how to play Minecraft. Which was clearly something we didn't want to be doing, but it made them happy. So we were rotating through what the family time looked like, just so that we could make sure we didn't lose that, where the kids were off in their rooms doing their thing and mom and dad are over here doing their thing. We wanted to make sure that we kept that up, that we were having that connection. And that was a very conscious choice to do that.
That's a great tip.
That is really good. All right. So we got a lot of the business stuff. If any more business questions come up, we can talk about it. But let's chat a little bit about the Chicago Basket Brigade.
Okay. So first, there are 2 basket brigades in Chicago. Chicago is its own entity. We're the suburban Chicago.
Oh, suburban Chicago.
Yeah.
So how did you founded this? Why was it founded? What inspired you to do it and all that kind of good stuff?
There is a much better video to explain it on our Basket Brigade website, which is basketbrigade.net. But you'll see my daughters when they were 6 and all that. So basically, the kind of shortened, less emotional version of it is in 2015 we found it. So 2014, my mom came home from a business trip to China, and my wife found her pretty much comatose in her bed. She just noticed that her car, we lived 2 doors down, so she noticed that her car was still in the driveway. She stopped in and had to get rushed to the hospital, and she had a prior surgery that cut open and she went septic. So there was all this infection that was in there and stuff like that. So it's big emergency surgery, and then more emergency surgeries after that. She was in the hospital for about 11 months through all of this. So in November, Thanksgiving was always her favorite holiday. So we wanted to bring her a plate of our Thanksgiving food. And then in a weird twist of fate, we wound up with an extra turkey from a friend of ours who was coming over. So we said, well, why don't we bring the full meal down to the hospital? Because there's a whole crew of doctors and nurses working through Thanksgiving, taking care of my mom and people like her. So we packed that up, drove, and the hospital she was at was phenomenal, world-class, University of Chicago, but it was about, in a good day, an hour drive for us. On a bad day, it could be 2 to 3 hours. So we drive down there about an hour, hour and a half, and we go into the 9th floor, the family waiting room. We put the whole Thanksgiving spread out and make my mom a little plate, which she wasn't supposed to have because she was on food tube and all that, but we wanted her to have it. So then we invited all the doctors and nurses from the floor to come have Thanksgiving dinner. And after we did that, we were on our drive home, and my daughter Lindsay says, wow, we should do something like that every year. And we're like, yeah, that feels good. That feels good. So that's November. And then she winds up passing in February. So then in another weird kind of twist of fate meant to be kind of thing, I wound up at the Tony Robbins event. And I say wound up because I thought it was a business thing. I was in a networking group and they came to present to us, and I'm like, oh yeah, sure, sounds good. And I got into that in like 45 minutes. I'm like, wow, this is personal growth stuff. Wow. I'm like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, God, I wish my wife was here, you know? So I wound up sending her to the next one after that. But during that seminar, you know, when he talked about his forming of the Basket Brigade and all that, it clicked. And I went, well, that's the something that we should do. So then, you know, that's July. So by September, you know, we had talked to a church, we had formed our board. My lawyers had I know Ricardo struggled with this one. Our lawyers had my nonprofit turned around in 2 weeks. So, you know, we were good to go because I knew I couldn't being a businessman. I'm like, I knew I couldn't fundraise without legitimacy of, are you a nonprofit? Am I going to get taxes on this, all that? So we put together our first event and just arbitrarily out of the air picked 100 families and said, let's target 100, not knowing prices, costs, fundraising, anything. So we wound up, all said and done, being able to do 195 that year. And thank you.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
It was a combination of Walmart and Costco, and we're running around our vans picking stuff up and all that. Well, comes to, you know, Friday night, we do the setup and all that, and then overnight we get a blizzard. Wound up being 16 to 18 inches of snow. We don't know who's showing up. I'm like, well, whoever signed up isn't going to come now because there's a blizzard outside. So I get there early and I'm, you know, putting some final stuff together. My wife goes off to Walmart to get the stuff. We send a dude with a truck with her to get the turkeys and all that. And I get the panic call from her. The credit card doesn't work because it was a brand new credit card for the organization. And Walmart was saying, no, it didn't work. So she's like, they say we have to bring cash. I'm like, great. So I hop in the car. I leave other people with setup and I drive over to Walmart and I, you know, get halfway there at 8:30 in the morning. I'm like, no banks are open right now. It's Saturday at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, there's no banks open. I can't even get cash. So I'm just getting more and more worked up. And I walk into Walmart. And of course, I go in the door over here and she's over here. So I have to walk the whole thing. And she sees me coming. And she just sees me stewing. I'm just like, you know, like just getting all like, it's like, it's not their
The
fault.
black cloud above you.
Oh, yeah, it was not good. Stressed, wondering if anyone's going to show up. We can't get the turkeys. The credit card's not working. I mean, just so... and there was another gift card that they had that they killed because they called it in and then they put it on hold and all that. So it's just this whole debacle. Finally get that sorted out. I say, okay, Paul is going to load up the turkeys. I got to get back to the church and see what's happening. So in all of this, in a blizzard, I get back to the church. I go down into the church basement. There's over 100 people down there. I'm like, just taken back, like shocked. And the turkey, then we had to go up and down elevators to get the turkeys in and out and stuff. So it was challenging, but amazingly gratifying walking down there and just seeing this room full of people, and then the blizzard, and then we had, Tony always talks about make sure you have the celebration afterwards and do the party and all that. And that's challenging. I will say that. So we, had a, spread afterwards, people donate food, whatever. So people would come back and we would sit and talk and all that. And I mean, we were legitimately like done packing up and loading everything into our cars when one of our drivers comes back and she's like, okay, like she had taken like these FAR deliveries and she was gone for like 4, 5, 6 hours. And we're like, oh, okay, well, here's some subs, it was like just this crazy thing. And she subsequently joined our board, even though we completely abandoned her and forgot about her and left her out in the snow. But so yeah, she's a board member now. But so each year we've grown a little. Obviously, that's going to be challenging this year. So we've already, realized that we're not going to hit our goal was 2020 to keep with the year. Last year we did 2000. We said, hey, it was tough, but each year we've grown and moved locations. So this year we wanted to keep the same location, work on our systems and processes and get that down at the location that we already knew. The school that we were at is wonderful. The whole district is on board, loves us, wants to be a part of it, all that stuff. So it was all rock solid up until Corona hits, and all of a sudden now fundraising is going to be a challenge, and we can't have, as of now, more than 50 people in the room. But if we backslide, then it's going to be less and all that. So, much like I know Ricardo and you guys are going to face the same things. It's going to be a tough year. So, we're still going forward. We're still going to do something. What that's going to look like is still kind of in discussion.
I love the fact that you went from 1 to 2,000.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, what? And, last year we did around 500 and 2,000 is 4 times that. And I'm like, dude, like that's a big haul.
Yeah. Stuff changes when you have semi trucks. So we went from 195 to like 268 to 570 something, just to 1,300 and then to 2,000. So it was incremental, but it's all about where your fundraising dollars take you. Because you can set up what you want, but if you don't do it based on the numbers, it's going to be awful, and somebody's going to have to throw in personal cash and all that. And that's not what it's
Oh yeah, I remember those days. but it's okay though. Go ahead, Michelle.
Looking at all of, you have sat here and told us so many things that you have overcome. Like, okay, this is going to be a challenge. And then it works out. This is going to be a challenge. You just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And so I have no doubt that this year's going to be great, and it's going to be another story to add to your, you've got these challenges, but you've proven that you can overcome those. So I can't wait to hear how this year goes. But being you're very clearly a big family man. You can hear the passion come through your voice when you talk about that, and you can hear how important that is to you. And I love that this all started with your daughter saying we should do this every year. So over the years, now that you have acted on that and you've pursued it and it's grown and your kids have gotten to be a part of it, it's a family affair, like you guys clearly do that together. What do you see that your kids have learned through watching this process unfold and how they can make a difference in the world? And like, it's got to be such a wonderful learning experience for them.
It is, and that's one of the things that I also do. I volunteer with them in Indian Princesses, kind of like a Girl Scout thing, but without all the book work. It's really just dads and daughters going to fun events. So I've wound up going through the ranks of being their chief and then the chief of the entire nation and all that stuff. So now they're getting older. So we're working into a new program called Trailmates, which is for the older kids, where we're going to do more high adventure kind of stuff. Right now, we're looking at like zip lining is our next one, which is for the old. But we're really excited. We're planning on June of next year, everything back to quasi normal. Father's Day weekend, we're going hang gliding with the girls in Wisconsin. So that's the plan. But as a result of that, we've also then all of our tribe came to volunteer at Basket Brigade. Then it was a nation event. Then so all of the dads and daughters and families there are able to come and partake of it. And then, my girls feel cool because they're running around in the orange shirts and, get to, look all official and stuff. So, and again, they're totally different personalities. Chelsea just wants to go and hang out with her friends and make boxes and assemble, where Lindsay wants to follow along beside me with the clipboard and, be with me on the microphone and all that stuff. Totally different personalities, but it's neat to make them both feel important. Lindsay has subsequently asked us to be in the board meetings and stuff, so we include her in all of our meetings and all that kind of stuff. Back when they were younger, like after the first year we did it, they actually came to me and wanted to start their own charity, the Rubber Band Charity. They wanted to make rubber band bracelets to sell and then donate the money to nonprofits. So we did kind of like one big event. We had all their princess friends over and all that. And then my brother runs a children's theater program. So we went and sold these bracelets at his children's theater program and to our friends on Facebook, whatever. And wound up, they raised like $400 and we donated it to one of the animal shelters that we got some of our dogs from. So even at the young age, I think that was when they were like 7 or 8, that they did that on their own, completely unprompted, nothing from mom and dad. So I definitely think that it makes a difference too. That's one of the things, like, we've got our core values, and one of them is to instill the love of volunteering in the next generation.
Wow.
Looks like you're doing that.
Great
That's
example
awesome.
of that.
Man, this was good, Brian. You're just a wealth of knowledge, entrepreneur, philanthropist, husband, dad, and we touched on every topic there, man. I like it. I like this. This was really good. So thank you so much for joining us today. And for everybody else, make sure you like and share this interview with the amazing Brian Walsh. You can subscribe to the podcast, our YouTube channel, and all the other things that we do by visiting forceforgrowth.com, which is being revamped as we speak, guys.
Oh,
Totally.
is that the surprise?
No, that's not the surprise.
Okay.
But it is being revamped. But you can still go and subscribe to our YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Music, and all that good stuff. And thank you so much, Brian, for joining us. We appreciate your time, and it was great having you.
Inspiring stuff. Thank you for sharing. And just good to get to know you a little bit more.
Yes, and we'll be back on Monday with the word of the week. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.